Hi, Jabs. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for
Oh,
having me.
it's really lovely to be able to talk to you, specifically within the context of Youth Month as your Chenosis's Learner Academy lead. And I think let's get straight into it. Maybe could you tell us about the Chenosis Learner Academy and what makes it different from a typical training program?
Okay, thank you, Lo. So, yeah, since it's Youth Month, I think it's very relevant that we're talking about the academy because its success really lies in the youth that we recruited for our space. But the academy started about 2.5 years ago. It started very small with about 5 learners. We call them learners, not graduates, because we obviously expect them to learn in the workplace and learn on the program. So we started with 5 learners, and it was very much experimentation and trying to figure out, what exactly the key skills that they needed to get and develop in order for them to succeed and thrive in a tech space, tech environment. So after all of that experimentation and figuring out, making mistakes and figuring out what exactly the direct course of action should be, we realized that, okay, our graduates need to learn important soft skills, self mastery skills to be able to lead and direct themselves, because leadership is quite important in the tech space. And then, from a technical perspective, we decided we were going to just throw them in the deep end and get them to create stuff and do stuff and learn on the job. So it's been a beautiful journey of like learning and understanding what young people need in the workspace. And really, what they need is meaningful work, opportunities, platforms to be able to showcase what their talents are and what their creativity is and what their problem solving capabilities are, and the space to be able to interact at all levels with clients and management and even CEOs. I mean, a lot of our
Mm,
learners are flying all over Africa, solving problems, selling products, and talking to high level C suite execs. So it really goes to show, that putting people in the deep end and getting them to do stuff really does develop their skills in a lot of different ways.
I think that's really, it's quite significant, first of all. Think, at least, yeah, I think personally, when you think of these Learner Academy programs that a lot of big corporations have, I think a lot of that focuses, well, I think it's all quite different. But what I really appreciate about what we're doing is, focusing on soft skills and being able to lead yourself, because I think you can learn anything, but those things are quite important to hone on, especially at the start of your career. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess what's part of the Learner Academy is to also develop what we call at Chenosis real world readiness. Not that Chenosis isn't the real world, we very much are, but could you maybe unpack more about how you guys are actually building that? And perhaps could you give us an example of how the academy stimulates or prepares learners for their next step in their career?
Sure. So you are definitely right, in terms of working experience and bridging the gap between coming from university and then coming into the world of work is really, it's an immense transition. And we always assume that because people went to university that they're ready for the world of work, and sometimes they aren't. They don't know how to operate in the space. They don't know how to interact with others in the space. They don't know how to collaborate. So those are skills
Mm,
that really need to be taught and
mm,
highlighted, important, not just for our space, but for any organization and any future that they are going to embark on. Because what we really do is prepare our learners for multiple futures, for opportunities to start up their own tech startups, to look for opportunities in other organizations, and also to be pipeline for our organization. So it's very important
mm,
for our graduates to be exposed to the world of work. And the way that we do this is, first of all, obviously, they've got the program that supports what they do from a functional perspective. And in the program, they're learning things like creative problem solving, creative thinking. They're learning how to be agile through project management. They're learning how to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, because oftentimes they have to, sell the products and lead and drive like they're driving their own business.
Mhm.
And then the most important one is workplace readiness, just understanding how to operate professionally, operate competently in the workspace. It, like I said, with multiple levels of people and in different environments as well. So that is
Mm,
the structured program that they go through for a year. And with that, they are in the actual team delivering on actual projects that they've been given that really solve for problems that we have in our organization. So it's not just theory, it's real, practical, purposeful work that they get exposed to, and
mm,
they have to deliver and show us what they've come up with.
mm,
Last year, it was very exciting to see our graduates presenting their own tech startups and their own products, because last year they actually had to develop their own business from beginning to end and come and show us what they've thought of. And you really get an understanding of how able young people are to look at the world
mm,
and assimilate knowledge and then be able to apply it to solve for problems all around them. Second
mm,
of all, if you give them the opportunity to be creative, they think out of the box and they
mm,
solve in a way that you never imagined. And all of their solutions are practical and can be implemented and can be monetized. So yeah, I
mm,
think it's really important for us to give our guys an opportunity. And then obviously we are constantly tracking how well they're performing in their roles, and we give them constant feedback, continuous support like mentorship and coaching on the job as well, because support is quite important. Yeah, and it's just been amazing to watch our learners growing from strength to strength because they feel confident enough to take on challenges and take up stages and take on
mm.
platforms that they've been provided at work.
That's really great. I think you mentioned the word opportunity, and in terms of not maybe having the opportunity to enter, there's not a lot of opportunities like the Chenosis Learner Academy, let me put it that way. So,
Hello, please can you
you know,
pause? I'm so sorry. Can we pause? There's somebody at the door.
okay, so you mentioned a word that got me thinking, and that was opportunity.
Sorry.
You mentioned a word, opportunity, previously, and I'd like to unpack it a little bit more. When you think of the tech job market today, thinking about tech companies, specifically maybe startups like ours, what do you think is missing for most young people entering that space?
Sure. I think young people are, I think the first thing that obviously young people get asked when entering the workplace is, do they have the relevant experience to do certain jobs?
Mm,
But obviously, because the tech startup is still a very new space, or the tech space is still a very new space in a country like ours and a continent like ours, although our young people are very experimental when it comes to tech, but actually these careers haven't been around for a very long time. So I think it's quite important for tech startups such as ourselves that are doing things that are innovative and brand new in the industry to give young people an opportunity, because they have a different perspective, number one. And number two, we've proven that when you give them an opportunity to do the work, that they can actually do it and perform. So I
mm,
think it's important
potentially do
for.
it better. So, yeah,
Absolutely, because they don't have
yeah.
the burden of experience. They can, from a fresh perspective, look at things and be able to solve for problems creatively. Whereas
Mm,
us who've been in the space probably are used to working in certain ways, and we're scared to experiment, and we're following policies and procedures, and young people just want to do, and they don't really care much about
mm.
the rules either. They just want to get things done and see the result. So,
It's
yeah,
definitely a different generation.
absolutely, absolutely. And that
Yeah.
is the type of environment that is needed as well in an innovative space, an environment that allows people to collaborate, to think things through, to interact with people in different departments to get a better understanding of the problem, and to
Mm,
solve problems creatively and start with a solution. And if it doesn't work, quickly change direction and iterate. And those are all things that I think we should expose young people to, because really experimentation and improving what you've experimented on is the best way to learn.
That's very true. I'm thinking back to another conversation we had with Orifa, who went on to a junior software engineering role at MTN. What he said stood out the most to him in Chenosis, when he was here in the program, was that Chenosis created a space for him to be able to make mistakes, be walked through that mistake and learn. And I guess that gets me to my next point or question or topic. In your opinion, how could businesses potentially better support youth readiness beyond just offering internships? I know you've unpacked quite a bit already that could speak to this question, but I think just because it's such an important question, I think we could maybe unpack it a bit more.
Absolutely. So I honestly believe that businesses can support youth workplace readiness by providing programs that are similar to ours, in the sense that, we've taken into consideration that these people are young, that they are early career youth, they still need support, and we've intentionally placed support in our program in the sense that we've heard what their feedback is with regards to the learning interventions we put in place. And we implement the learning interventions or the recommendations that they've asked for, because our intention is to actually hear the types of skills that they are interested in receiving. And with them now being exposed to the world of work, it's important for us to respond in a way that supports them. So we're constantly running
Mm,
surveys to check, if our programs are actually, if they are making an impact on them in an important way. Are the programs actually assisting them in their day-to-day work? And we make sure that we align any activities that are related to the program to what they do so that they can get practical hands-on experience. The second thing that I mentioned, and I've mentioned it before, is obviously making sure that you're giving learners intentionally set work where they are interacting with real life scenarios. So,
honing in on that skill set they've studied, right?
absolutely. So, as an example, like I said before, we've taught them entrepreneurship, and then practically we expect them to present on a business that they've created. So we support them in that way. And not only that, we also get them to engage in the community under which we operate. So we take our graduates to career days where they get opportunities to mentor other young people that are interested in the tech space. We run hackathons where our learners get an opportunity to mentor young people that are
Mm,
solving for problems that are under the development goals. This happens annually. We also do a speaker series where we invite industry experts and people of their choosing, because we were trying to get them to network in the space that they operate in. So they pick a speaker that will come every month to impart and share wisdom and knowledge. And that gives them the opportunity to not only network with that person, but also follow their career, and the person follows their career back as well.
yeah,
Very recently, we had a young innovator from Zimbabwe who came and told us about a solar panel bag that you can take hiking that
that's
charges all your
incredible.
devices. So it was quite interesting to see the response of these young the learners, and
Yeah.
see them learning from somebody who's their age, who's decided to innovate and take the entrepreneurial route. And then lastly, we've been intentional about actually, so not only are you on the
Mm,
receiving mentorship, you're also providing mentorship, which gives you a 360 view of how mentorship actually
yeah,
works. And then
that's really,
obviously
really,
the coaching from the line
sorry.
manager and from
Yeah,
actually coaches. Yeah. So we support
yeah.
our clients quite significantly.
And one thing I've picked up in with what you said now is what makes this really special and very, very impactful is that we're creating solutions for our context, which is Africa. And especially having access through Chenosis, having access to like a larger corporation, our internal community, which is the rest of MTN, essentially, it's really unmatched in my opinion. Okay, last one. In one word, What does the Learner Academy really teach?
Your capacity to grow.
I love it. I think that's it. That concludes it. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a real honor to be able to work in an environment, in a company, and amongst people like yourselves. That's, yeah, in my opinion, trailblazing, something very important. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Lo. That was amazing. Thank you also for taking an interest in what we're doing and how we're trying to grow our young learners. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.